Is this something else? We have found a gem here. It's just so pretty going through the water. Oh, she's really sweet. The woodwork on here is just fantastic. That's worth the price of the boat right there. They do it to you, don't they? They just get you. Hi there, this is Captain Q and my old sailing buddy Randy. Join us as we travel hither and yon as we look for some great deals on classic boats and learn a little with each one.
Captain!
Oh, Randy.
What's going on?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm sorry I had to drag you all the way up from Rhode Island for this, up here to Maine, to South Portland. We have a Swan 36.
Ooh.
And, well, the name Swan means something, and I was a little disappointed it wasn't better than I had hoped for.
Okay, so we got a project boat?
So, I think probably. I want you to come in and give me your initial reaction because we're going to have to tell our viewers about this, okay?
Okay.
All right. So come on with me.
Oh.
So what do you think?
You played a trick on me.
Is this something else?
Oh, wow.
Is this boat kind of perfect?
So what's the story here?
Sparkman and Stephens. We know the name. When you say Stephens, many people often think of just Olin Stephens, but in fact he had a brother who was brilliant. Rod ended up going off to college, went up to Cornell for about a year. Rod ended up leaving school and went to work in the Nevins boat yard and learned all about construction. Rod then ended up moving in with his brother. They put together this Sparkman and Stephens design office. He was really particular about everything from, how a cotter pin was inserted, to all sorts of minutiae detail. He was always quite anxious to get up to Scandinavia and get some work done. And he was in Helsinki one day and he got a phone call, and the man's name is, excuse me because I'm still learning my Finnish, Pekka Koskenkila. He said, we would like to build boats for you, but we don't have a place to build them. We don't have the money to build them. We don't have the land to build on right now. And I'm not a broker and I'm not a sailor. And Rod started thinking, well, this is obviously a natural connection here, right? Pekka invited him over to their spaces, and they had some old wrought iron buildings. They'd put together a mock-up model of one of the boats, and Rod walked in and took one look at it and said, it was jaw-dropping. And they decided to get together and build a boat. The Swan 36, before it was called a Swan 36, was built in wood, and it had been very successful sailing. And it was the first time, among the first boats, that Olin Stephens had split the rudder away from the keel. This was exciting because they were going to be building production fiberglass boats now, with new body, new keel configurations. The 36 was, I believe, the first boat to come off the ways, and they built, I think, about 80 of these, and they built about 60 of the 43. Pekka was also very enthusiastic because in their town they had a lot of furniture builders and woodworkers who needed work, and so it was a natural blending. Here is the Swan 36. This particular one is a 1969 model. They first came out in '68. We have found a gem here. I think we're going to find that for 36 feet of length, she will feel small to the average American diet, but you're not going to care. I have a new gizmo. Look at this.
What do you have there?
I can write my name on here. Let's start out with the spoon bow here. It's just so pretty going through the water. She's not cut away like some of the new modern boats when we say cut away, where the bilges are just flat like so. But she's deep. This is going to be one of our mushers. The beam on this boat's about just a little over 9 feet, so she's fairly skinny. You can see the slack bilges as we move aft here. Here's our good old through-hull speedometer fitting right there. I don't know where the head is on this boat just yet, but this is probably a sink or an exhaust for the marine head. This is where the rudder would have been probably on a classic design of Stephens. Olin wanted to keep it tracking, so he kept this long sort of keel part running back and ferrying into a skeg here, which is, of course, you have the rudder post coming down like so, and then you have our great big gudgeon here that also gave more strength to the rudder. And this is now a semi-balanced rudder. And why do we say that? Because when you turn the helm, water, it's going to steer the boat that way, but it's going to have water pressure going against it like so. It's a good cruising prop.
Yeah.
The owner of this boat just liked to go sailing. He didn't race it, doesn't race it now, and he likes to go out sailing solo.
Oh.
So if anybody wonders, can you go solo sailing? Yep.
This is the
Can
one.
you go offshore? Yep. It's not an aperture because the rudder's been moved aft, right? And it has a little, this is a nice little piece on here. Looks like stainless. It's been painted over to give this bit of a strut some strength. And there's a cutlass bearing inside here. So that's going to keep the whole thing in line. This bottom is really ablating.
Let me see the evidence.
Well, it's
There you go.
it's a little light, but you can see that light blue tinge on there.
Tell me about this counter.
Well, that's just as pretty as can be, right?
Yeah.
This is the counter area that Randy's referring to, and as boats progressed in design and speed, they would shorten this up to save weight aft. Ideally, you want to have your ends free of as much weight as you can. Back in the day, we used to take the anchor off the bow and stow it down in the main cabin, take the outboard off the stern and stow it in the main cabin, do all this. So by cutting off all this fiberglass here and reversing the transom, you would save that weight. Now, why do you want the weight out of there? Because if you get the weight in the ends, the boat will tend to hobby horse. When it goes through little seas like there's a hobby horse, and hobby horsing is slow. The waterline's going to extend way out to here, and that's all good for boat speeds. Let's take a look up topside.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We love the subscribers.
Yeah, more subscribers means that we're going to get recommended to more people, and so that helps spread the love and spread the word about old classic boats and what we're doing. So every little bit helps.
Thanks again. Sea Dog says to come on up, Randy.
Oh, thanks.
I'm not standing behind the wheel, right?
No wheel.
No, some of these they had wheels in them, but when you're sailing a Sparkman Stephens boat like this and you got a tiller, this is going to be like sailing a little one design boat somewhere, and you want to feel that sail send you messages from the rudder coming up through here. I'm sitting on teak strakes here. They like teak over in Finland, and they used to cover all the decks with teak. I don't know if this had teak on it. It might have at one point, but right now it doesn't, and it's been beautifully refinished about 12 years ago, 2010. We have a lazarette. That's your cooking gas right there, and it's not propane. You can look down in there and see the massive woven roving that's placed over the mat and the cloth that was used to build these hulls. And here we have the CNG for the cooking gas, compressed natural gas, and that's an easy way to do it. You don't need to have a special locker for this because this gas will rise.
Oh, you know, we got a good comment the other day. Why do you care if their gas gets on the top? Because the gas will sink.
If the gas doesn't escape and spills out into other parts of the boat for whatever reason, you don't want that.
Yeah.
They just want them sealed, and when they're below decks, they want it sealed, generally speaking.
Yeah.
This is a massive Harkin traveler system with 4 parts on each side, and this is a nice touch here we don't see ever, do we? Wooden cleats.
Ooh.
Now this goes into a cam cleat there, and that'll hold the line. But then here's a backup for it. That nice little wooden cleat built into the combing. I mean, how pretty is that? The woodwork on here is just fantastic. I'm not certain what these cleats are. They've been painted apparently, or dressed in some way. I've never seen white cleats before. We have a surprise feature on this boat.
Ooh, I like surprises.
Yep, it's coming. Now, here we are in the helmsman. My hand is sitting right on 2 little pointers here that are going to be used for your autopilot. So this will have a autopilot helm arm, which will drop right down into this little feature right here. And it'll sit there, and it'll go over here, hit that, and it'll take you wherever you want to go while you go make your ham sandwich. This little piece, it's just a slider piece there, and that will fasten down. But for right now, let's just take a look in here. At that locker. So you've got the control arms and so forth for your throttle, which is right here. Your throttle and your gear shifter are all melded into one. Here's a nice new shore power line, and this is not that deep. There's a board in here because you know why?
Got some storage underneath.
Quarter berth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The way this boat is put together, I think you're going to see it's going to feel more furniture-like than sort of rough and ready.
I mean, I can kind of see that with this combing that sweeps
Yeah,
around.
yeah, it's just the way it's done. I mean, it's just in the little combing cap on here too.
And the way it goes up and around.
And goes all the way around and gives you a perfect section for a Dodger. Instrumentation across the companionway. We have a set of Brooks and Gatehouse instruments. And we don't have a binnacle here, do we?
No.
So we need a compass in front of us. And we have two Gemini compasses here.
No radar for the coast of Maine.
Well, you know, we haven't been below. There could be a radar unit below, but I don't know that there is one. What do we have down here? Probably our autopilot.
Yep.
And we've got all your offsets and so forth to change compass direction. This has a Westerbeek 30, which is a 28 horsepower diesel. This is not a huge cockpit. The seats could be wider if you really insisted, but you don't need it. When the boat's heeled over, you're going to be sort of tucked in this corner here, aren't you? Without a short power cord on you. But this is not a terribly short, and I could slide down further. And if I had a cushion under me, even with a 2 inches on there, I'm not going to be falling out of the cockpit. All right, should I head up forward here?
Yeah, let's go forward.
I've just moved all the way forward here, forward to the mast. And we have a nice big open hatch here with translucent.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Translucent.
Nailed it.
Got it right on that time. And it's really big. So
Is that a little solar powered vent?
it has a powered vent on it. And when you go by here, you'll see that there's a step here to help you step down into that forepeak right now. I told you we had a surprise for you, right?
Yeah.
Look at your feet. What do you see?
2 dorades.
Yes. Do you know why they're called dorades?
Because of the design on the original dorade.
Exactly. And again, coming back to our friend Rod Stephens, devised the first wind vents built like this on the sailboat Dorade, the family boat they raised transatlantic. So Rod is responsible for those dorades. They've got drains here on either side and one aft.
So if there's water that goes into the scoop,
Right.
it comes out those 2 holes?
Right. Well, yes, because there's a baffle in here that the air goes over the baffle, but the water is directed down to come out those holes. Little Danforth hung off the bow. Even the old captain could throw that over the side. You can see where the bow roller has been put on here. This is an additional heavy stainless plate. That's a nice massive piece, well welded, with a big heavy duty roller. The decks have all been repainted with this non-skid back when boat was redone in 2010.
What do you think about the non-skid?
I think the non-skid's really good. It's got some great grip to it. Big heavy-duty handrails, and these aren't little tender things. These are, you know, you get your 300-pound guy in there. Oh, I'm going over the side, and he hangs onto that. He's going to stay on board. There are some beautiful stainless port lights here on either side, and each one of them has a little scupper to it, doesn't it? 2 scuppers to drain any water that catches and will help that drain away. Also down on the deck too, you'll see a couple of pad eyes. I'm kneeling on one, and there's one just forward of that. Those were preset for heavy weather jibs, and you would screw a block into that with its own nut attached to it, and that would be good for number 2, number 3, or number 3, number 4 jib. The long track behind them that's angled inward is probably the track you're going to use most of the time sailing the boat to windward. That looks like it's on your 7-degree line pretty much.
Yep.
And on the outboard side, you've got a nice 1-inch stainless track running for about 10 feet or so. That'll take care of your high cupped reaching jibs. I want to go below and take a look. What do you think?
I also do too.
Brandy, come on down. And welcome to Sailor's World. One distinguishing look to all the Swans was the way the fins finished the 2 different woods here. One was mahogany, and this was the mahogany, I think, and then this was a Ioka. I might be wrong on that. Iroka. This cushion is quite thick, so you know what I know here? We're going to have an extra bunk. This is going to swing up, and we're going to have an extra bunk. Let me show you how that works. Hey, voila! The cushion from the backrest fits right on top of here, so I think you've got a place to lie down, and there's still room underneath for somebody else to sleep, and there's a filler piece that will go in here, so you could actually have 3 people sleeping here. A couple little kids would love to be up here. They'd have their own windows, and they'd probably even have a little place to keep stuff. Oh, and by the way, they could control the music. Floorboards are mahogany, and they're not the teak and holly arrangement. See how that popped right up? No problem. There's our bilge. You can see the bump of the keel bolts that have been molded down into the keel down there.
Yep.
And this is all a metal backwork frame. That might even be metal itself. More bilge area. We've got a, I don't know what this gizmo is here. It looks like a pump of some sort.
That's definitely a water pump.
You think that's a water pump?
Yeah.
I think that's potable water. Now here's one of the things they did with the the 34. They moved the motor way forward into the cabin to try to get it as centralized as possible.
Oh, wow.
So look at that. That's pretty sweet. That's a little Westerbig 30, 28 horsepower. I think these are series 24 batteries, 6 volt in series. Here's your riser right here for the exhaust. It's all pretty convenient. This is a little different. You sometimes think, well, you're going to have the pilot and settee berths here, but they wanted a big galley, a nice little sink. We only have hand pressure, which for your water here, which makes me question what the pressure pump is we just discovered. But I think we'll check the head and find out. Now this boat is reported to have air conditioning on board, which is nice.
Oh, wow. And does that run off the engine, or does it run off batteries? Or?
This will run off shore power. Let's see how they store things. Oh, pretty nicely, huh? Look, there's our fridge.
Oh.
And you know what that other thing in there keeping the Frisianet company is?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is a mechanical adjuster for probably the backstay. But you've also seen this same sort of rig run to a vang on the boom.
Oh, wow.
But I'm going to guess on this boat, given its age, that's probably just the backstay adjuster. There we go.
Oh.
Look at that, huh? Nice little cutting board.
Nice. Does it go all the way through, or no?
Well, this can come out. And actually, I have a question. Here we go. We haven't had one of these questions for a long time for our folks. I was actually awarded, for winning a race, a piece of wood like this that had all these slacks in it. And we didn't know what it was for. We took it home, and it's sitting on the shelf still there. We're not quite certain. This will come out, of course.
I was going to guess it's like a crumb catcher or something.
Well, this would catch whatever you did on here, so maybe it is for preparation of sandwiches and so forth. That's worth the price of the boat right there. And now, we've talked about different drawers. And we've seen many drawers that are plastic, easy to clean and deal with. And we've seen drawers that have been toe-nailed here. But here we go. You can't beat
Dovetail.
Gas stove for the CNG. And boy, they just don't cook much in these boats, do they? Here's a strap for you to cook in the stove. You put a strap on either side of that. You stand here, boom. Coming a little further aft here, we have a nice foul weather gear directly adjacent to the companionway. And it's all lined and clean and neat and tidy. Here's the pièce de résistance.
Resistance?
Quarter berths. Do we like quarter berths?
No?
No, we really don't, because you can't get in them.
Oh.
But Olin Stephens was thinking, look at this quarter berth here. What do you notice about it?
Low.
Low, and
Easy
it's cut away here.
Yep.
Now, there's no cushion on there, but, you know, captain can't resist trying it. This is for the navigator, who is sitting at a most wonderful navigator's table that gets high points. I'm going to go right in here. Oh, there we go. And I wish I was sitting on a cushion because I'd be just a little bit higher. The whole electrical switch panel is right here. The master switch happens to be underneath the settee there, which I like. But here's our anchor light, our running lights. We've got a VHF left from the dinosaur period, a little GPS here. I've got an answer to the thing we saw in the fridge. First of all, the thing we saw in the fridge would not have this this vang. This is a vang living here in my quarter berth.
That looks pretty modern.
This is new. This is newer, and it's the 4-part or 6-part tackle here that will made by Harkin that will suck down that boom on when you're out sailing. And if you notice on the other side, we have a similar sort of situation with the inset and the ability to get into that berth. You can just sit down on it and swivel yourself around and be quite comfortable in there. And it's sort of narrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And why do we like that?
Keeps you snug.
Yep, you're not rolling around because this boat is going to be pounding over hill and dale and seas and so forth. And you don't want to be thrown around. You want to be sleeping. One of the most important things for crew is the off watch has to have all of its own time to itself. They don't want to be waken up by noise, by calls on deck, by rain, wind, sleet, or storm.
Bilge alarms.
Bilge alarm. Do not want to hear the bilge alarm. I think we should go forward.
Yeah.
Okay, Randy. As I mentioned, she's a narrow boat, right? 9-foot beam. I can't quite touch her side to side, but I almost feel like I could. My hands are going out the port lights here. But we have a thwart ship head here, and we've seen that done before. Europeans like this a lot. And I'm going to have you step in here for a minute, be my guest, and notice that there's a nice sink to starboard with pressure water and a shower in it. There's a shower grate on the floor. I think, interestingly enough, yes, this is actually foot pump operated. So we haven't seen that. This is very European, isn't it? We've just discovered a little switch up here, and it's such a little tiny thing. We didn't notice it at first, and it's a rocker switch. And it may be that this is not just a foot pump. Maybe it's a pressure pump. Look at these port lights. Don't you love these? Beautiful. Stainless, brutal, nice little hook hanger for them. So here we have a interesting head. It's large. I'm not certain of the design here. Okay, I know it's a head. There's a pressure pump pedal down here, and we've got the hand pump right here. And I think it's just a standard old Raritan style of head.
You've got the switch over here though too.
Yep, that's for the holding tank pump.
Okay. And
here's our holding tank right here. So the blue tank we saw earlier was potable water. I'm in the head, please. Okay.
No manners.
You can come in. Here's this nice sliding door. Look at that, just slides with 2 fingers over to the forepeak. I'm going to have a surprise for you. I have standing headroom. There's a little seat here they put in here again, and these are adequate sea berths. This is called a sea berth. When you put the filler piece in, it's sort of like home, but you know, when you're off at sea, this is going to be your deal. And they have storage under here. There's a nice drawer underneath there.
Yep.
And all enclosed. I'm going to try this berth to see if I could go to sea in this boat. Oh yeah, this is old time sailing here. Yep. Now, this is tight, Randy. I'm not gonna fool you. But with a lee cloth here, you'd be snug as a bug. It's time for my weekly nap, and
yeah, siesta.
Have you enjoyed this boat?
Oh, it's amazingly beautiful.
It's just really.
I don't think I've ever looked at a Swan and not thought that was a very pretty boat.
Hey, listen, thanks, pal.
All right, we'll see you.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. You might notice we're not in South Portland anymore, are we?
We are.
I don't think so. We had a chance to look at a really cool boat. This is the beginning of Sparkman Stephens' fiberglass line of boats known as Nautor Swan sailboats. And the one we saw today was a 36. And not just an old beaten up one. This one just shocked us. We walked into the barn and we were both kind of amazed, weren't we?
Oh, gorgeous.
She's not going to be like a new fiberglass European boat today with 4 bedrooms and so forth. This was meant to take men through the North Sea, up and down the English Channel in safety and speed and win races. You know me, I tend to think of things in terms of cars. I think of this as an older Jag, like an XK140. Would have been pretty fast back in the late 50s when they came out with the 140s. But today, not so fast, but nobody is not going to turn around and look at that XK140 going by. Same thing for this Nautor 36. Really a pretty boat that's going to give you a heck of a ride. A nice cruising boat for a smaller family or a couple friends or two couples. And the pride of ownership is going to be about 80% of the reason to someday own one of these for yourself. We've seen the boat, we love it, it's terrific, and I think it's time we give it a bit of a rating here. Right now, I'm giving her a 10 because I know she floats.
Yeah.
I'm going to give her another 10 because I know even today she's still going to win races. I'm going to give it another 10 because of its ancestry and how you now have a piece of ownership of Sparkman Stephens' earliest fiberglass design boats. Back in 1974, the captain had the opportunity to campaign a Sparkman Stephens SNS 48, just a big version of this boat, in the New York Yacht Club cruise one year, and just had a terrific time sailing it. It's a terrific boat. I'm gonna give it another 10. We're going with a 40 for this puppy right here.
Whew, yeah.
And anybody that sees this boat's gonna feel the same way. One other thing I thought about, right now there are a couple putting together from start to finish a rehab on a Swan 36, and their Instagram channel is Swan 36 Lofna. That's Lofna. Check it out, and I think you'll appreciate the work they're doing on that boat. Thanks for watching, and let me know where you think we are today.
If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when the next one comes out, please hit the alert bell. And that's not desperate at all.
Randy, how would I ever find out what's coming up next?
You can follow us on Instagram here,
Yeah.
or Facebook here. We'll have little previews of what's coming up on our next episodes a little bit early.
That's pretty cool. Preview. You all join me. I'm going to Instagram right now, and I'm going to find out what's coming up next week. Thank you very much.
You know, Instagram's not a place.